Good morning. We are live. And always forgetting to put our headphones on at the start of the stream. Morning all. Happy Sunday. Thought I'd do a short little stream today, hopefully. My streams always tend to go overtime, so we'll see if I can keep this one actually shortish. And also make sure that I am actually live. I hopefully should be. Oh, morning. Morning. There we go. Alrighty, I think we might be live and good. Sweet, good. You can never tell until you actually have a look. There we go, cool. Alright, I'm going to keep that on paused. Sweet. Alright, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. So I always want to start these streams by building something as if you were a beginner, as if you'd never coded something before. So today, because I'm going to be focusing on doing a little bit of like AI art, kind of comparison stuff with or I guess comparing how, if you wanted to make a game with AI, what's the easiest kind of art style for AI to actually use? I think for our kind of making a little test game with AI, where you might do something that it can kind of use like 2D artwork. So if you've never made anything with AI before, I like to start with Gemini to make your first ever AI thing. If you're already like an AI engineer and you kind of like use Codex every day and you're pretty comfortable with that, this is more for people that are in box. Box 1 or 2, right? For people that are like never used AI or only ever used like chat AI, use Codex/Claude. If you're in 1 or 2 and not 3 yet, then usually I like recommend that you actually start by just making something basic with Gemini, right? So for today's Gemini app, we are going to make a little 2D side-scrolling game, mostly so that I can see what kind of art it uses by default. Like I just want to see what it starts with. That's the play today, right? That's what we'll actually start with. So we're going to start by saying. First, you would go to gemini.google.com. You'd open that up. You would then start by creating or clicking on Canvas to, put it in make an app mode. And then you're going to click on use microphone and describe what you want to make. Today, we're going to say, can you create a 2D side-scrolling game where we shoot a bow at monsters and have to jump over obstacles? Kind of like Super Mario, but like... more interactive and with some fighting. Make it more like Robin Hood. Simple. That's our beginner's app for today. Just doing that already puts you in the box of using AI for a little bit more than just chat Q&A style talk to ChatGPT work. So let me actually switch my desktop screen because I am not actually sharing what I'm talking about. I want to take you from using Chat AI to actually using Codex or Claude. And today's app, we're actually going to make a little Robin Hood game just to start with. Mostly so that I can see what kind of art style it goes with when it actually generates this little game. I've seen it often use like flat colors or emoji when it's starting a little like game level design. So today we've got hopefully a Robin Hood game. I'm going to let this finish generating, and I'm going to make sure that the rest of my little like stream thing is set up properly. But yeah, the goal of today is to actually do a little bit more setup and prep for making a stream interactive game. What I mean by a stream interactive game is a game that can interact with stream chat while I'm streaming, so that chatters can like kind of type in messages and have some effect on the game, whether that's participating in a battle or taking some action or navigating somewhere or making some game decision. That's the rough goal. I don't really have a clear specific picture beyond like the very like start of making this game, of where we go with it. It's not going to be this game, but it's going to be something else. So 2 minutes later, Gemini has made us a game. It's Robin Hood Forest Legend. Let's see how it works. We got a little dude here. We can hold our bow. We can shoot a guy. And we can run and jump on platforms. This is awesome. Doop. Doop. All right, so we've got a guy with a shield here. He seems to be blocking all of the shots that we have. And we lost. Oh no. Okay, so first guy we can shoot. Second guy seems to be very good with the shield movement, so we have to time it just right to get the arrow in between his shield. We got a B. We got headshots. Excellent. Ah. For 2 minutes, this is awesome, right? You could give a kid. Oh, I'm out of arrows. You could give a kid access to this, and they would have a ball, right? And then they could ask for different things. They could you could go back and forth with them, and and add more features and add different things to it. But for 2 minutes, that's pretty good. The reason why I wanted to make this game was to actually check what art style it used. What did you make the assets, the game art with? SVG? Pixels? Something else? So I'm seeing a lot of people that use make these video games or use AI to make something visual, and there's a bit of a, I guess, choice when kind of like making anything visual or digital for like web browsers. Just generally, if you're like making some kind of like default assets for browsers and you're not getting into 3D modeling for like 2D stuff that displays, if you wanted to make a picture, you're generally either going some pixel graphics or some vector graphics. Pixel graphics are where you have each individual pixel arrive with a specific value. That can be computed from something else, but pixels are the kind of goal of describing stuff. The second way is using some kind of like vector graphics or some kind of shapes to describe, lines, squares, boxes, circles with colors, etc., and compose them into a bit of an image. And that's what we call vector graphics. Vector graphics are great because vector graphics can be zoomed in unlimitedly because they're kind of rendered on the fly, right? We say, this is what a circle looks like. And then no matter how much you zoom, you'll see that it's a circle, right? So here is an example of an SVG circle. We can zoom, we can zoom, we can zoom, we can get rid of this. We can zoom as much as we want and it doesn't lose fidelity, right? But if we say a PNG circle, like this, we'll open this up and we'll zoom in on it. And you should hopefully see, what? Let's see if we can open this. This one's not bad. You can't really tell super clearly because this PNG is pretty big, but it does have a little bit of like, you can kind of see that it starts getting blocky. We can't zoom in quite enough to see it properly because it's a 1200 by 1200 circle. These ones are even bigger. Got something smaller. Let's try this one. All right, you can barely see it here, but it starts getting a little bit. You can very, very faintly start to see the squares, the actual pixels when you zoom in. With an SVG, that's doesn't matter how much you zoom in. Like that will always just keep on going infinitely and be like a very smooth line because it's just describing, hey, this is a circle, and so it'll like blow up to fill your screen and be like super, super crystal clear no matter how much you zoom. So what's the difference? What's the point? if we wanted to make ourselves a little game and we want it to be in like a 2D art style, I'm trying to figure out whether we get AI to generate like pixel art or whether we get it to generate SVG art. And so I started with the idea, we'll just start with like pixel art, right? Like we'll get AI to generate like 32 by 32 pictures for our game for like rendering attacks or rendering little characters. And then I was starting to play with it and it looked terrible. So then I was like, it probably makes sense to make our game art more SVG to give AI more of a fighting chance, because AI is a lot more comfortable with SVG. And then I was thinking about things like there's benchmarks. I don't know if you've ever seen mindbench.ai. There are benchmarks like this where it looks like actual blocks, right? Like we've got, islands and, water, and you've got like these kind of like square layouts and trees and all of this stuff. And so AI, this is like one of these benchmarks for AI where AI can generate these different, based on a prompt, like an image or like a scene. And these look block-like. But when we look into the underlying code behind like a benchmark like this, it turns out it's actually still using things like draw a line, draw a circle, and then it renders that into blocks that look like they can be, or that could be imported into Minecraft. So it's not actually generating block by block when AI generates something like this. It uses code to kind of like describe the image, and then that code then turns into blocks at the end, right? So it seems like AI just prefers describing things as shapes, not really like thinking in terms of actual layout of like pixels on an image, right? But that's why I wanted to do today's stream and why I made a little Robin Hood game to see what it would actually use. And it seems like it's still using shapes to describe the images. So it's like, this is a square, this is a, like a circular bit for a bow. Here's the arrow. Like it uses that to describe to describe the game characters. It's the default, and it's what AI will kind of use by default in things like Google's Gemini to lay stuff out for a good reason, is because AI tends to be better at it. That's my hypothesis, but I actually wanted to turn that into a benchmark. So that's what today is going to actually be, rather than just saying, yep, that's the case. Let's go and prove it. Let's create like just a little harness where we can describe some kind of an attack or a character, and we'll generate some in like pixel format. We'll generate some in SVG format, and we'll compare the pair, right? Don't take my word for it. I don't want to like just trust what you can read online. I want to actually build like a little comparison just to motivate our game itself. And we'll do this as a we'll do this as a little blind kind of A/B test experiment setup. So we'll generate SVG, we'll generate pixel, and then I'll get you to, or if anyone's watching, I'll get you to give your thoughts on what it looks like. That's the thought, anyway. That's the thought. That's my idea for today. I'm pretty happy with how this little game has turned out, though. Gemini is surprisingly strong when it comes to like one-shotting stuff quickly visually that's like playable. So I'm a big fan of Gemini if you wanted to like, show off to a kid or show off to a parent how easy it is to like create their first app. Cool. With that said, let's one of the things that I've seen people talking about online and that I've started doing myself is mixing models in terms of like cost and like thinking and then execution. So for example, Fable 5, very expensive. You don't get too many credits with it, but it's very, very good. Then we've got, ChatGPT Soul or ChatGPT Terra. Not quite as expensive, not quite as smart, because Fable has still kind of set the bar for everyone else to rise to. But it's a hell of a lot like more generous with its tokens, right? And so what people are tending to do is plan with Fable and then like actually write the code with like 5.6 Terra or another model, right? People aren't super happy with Sonnet 5 at the moment either. And so that's what I've kind of been having to play with, and it's working surprisingly well. So for something like this, I've got this AI chat adventure, and we've organized this. Let's see if I can open this up somehow. Whoa. Open an Explorer. Actually, I want to open this in Visual Studio Code. We've got a little AI chat adventure games for making our stream interactive game. Let's see if we can open this up in VS Code. I've got a folder for experiments, and on the last stream we capped it off by, let's actually open this up. Can you start the experiment pixel attack server for us? Full access is on. ChatGPT will be able to run commands. I'm fine with that. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We try. We'll keep an eye on it. We won't let it go too crazy. As long as we don't start telling it to do destructive commands of deleting things or like reorganizing our entire like system, it should be fine. But I did hear a story where somebody like GPT removed their home. Like it renamed or moved something for their home folder, and that inadvertently ended up like deleting their entire like home folder. So I've been waiting for stories like this to happen where people like give it full access and then some bad stuff happens. And I feel like I've heard some of the first of these stories recently. So I'm kind of keen to see what happens given some more time with people getting hot water, letting AI do too much. Okay, start experiment pixel attack server for us. Cool. Awesome. So this is what we built last time, where we could say, can you make an attack of throwing some pancakes? We'll do this as an animated SVG, and we will generate attack. And so the logic is that if I have a game that chat can play, and one of the tasks is to beat a boss, I want chat to be able to generate attacks on the fly, whatever attack. And so a chatter could be like, I don't know, throw a car at it, right? And then on the fly, I could like generate like a car and then use that as like an attack animation against a boss. I think something like that would be fun. It'd be a little bit like AI. It's a bit interactive, and it could be something that I just like run while streaming just for fun. So I want to build something like that. And we want to use the right artwork to do that. I started doing pixel grid stuff, and we got to this, which was this is 2 out of the 3 steps of what I wanted to kind of do. And I started last time I streamed, where I wanted to connect Twitch, YouTube chat APIs into Vercel AI SDK, and then use that to create a bit of a game. This is like not really a game; it's more like a demo, but it demonstrates at least the core bits. Pancake volley. A warm golden pancake stack launches 2 chunky pancakes toward a bright impact spark. Excellent. So this is like an animated pancake stack attack. Which is not the worst. It's not, I mean, you can see there's little pancakes, and I think it has a little like pat of butter on top of it. But it's probably doing a bit too much at this point to be super recognizable. If we do the same prompt and instead make it a pixel grid, and we'll make it 32 by 32. This might take a little bit. This might take a few minutes. You'll see what this ends up being comparatively, right? A couple of the previous attacks, while that's generating, you'd see like Comet Hammer, Spinning Banana, Bright Lightning Spear. So these are all SVG renders. You can kind of tell what they are. When we get to the pixel renders, Crescent Flame, Ember Crescent, Arc Driver, like this is supposed to be a screwdriver. That's not very screwdrivery. at all, right? This is an arcane screwdriver as an SVG, much more recognizable. It actually has like a style and looks like something. The pixel version, not just for this, but for like anything that we're doing with pixels, was like way dodgier. So this is what I just wanted to do today, and actually like have maybe a little library where it could generate a set of both SVGs and PNGs, or like pixel images for the same prompt, and then just have like an A/B test, and then just kind of like show them side by side to show why we might lean into SVGs versus like pixel rendering. Hey Mers, how you doing? Morning. Welcome. Today I want to benchmark SVG versus pixel art. That's my goal today on this beautiful Sunday. We made our little Gemini game. We made a Robin Hood game. Check this out. So it's like a side scroller like Super Mario, but you can shoot a bow. The problem is that these dudes with shields, like when they're on the edge of the edge of the what is this? Like the hill, they like flip like a billion times a second, and so I can't actually hit them. Like, what is that? Why is he blocking my arrows? I can just keep shooting him in the head. There we go. Having Fable delegate to GPT 5.6 Sol on Ultra. You've been trying that. That is exactly what I was going to be doing today, actually. So, what did I want? I wanted to let this finish like rendering. So this is what a pancake barrage attack looks like in our current like app. Hey Raj, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Trying to benchmark pixel art versus SVG art today. That's my like my small goal. I wasn't going to be like streaming for heaps long, but I wanted to build a bit of a benchmark and compare them. How you doing? I got a question for you. Are you already an AI enjoyer and you're like using it in Claude, ChatGPT, Anti-Gravity? Like, are you an AI lover, or is it like kind of like new to you? What box would you fit in? How many crowns? I always like knowing kind of where people are at with like if they're already using stuff and like are trying to optimize on the best models to use like Mers and Chat, or if it's new. I feel like there's a lot of people that could benefit just from like, tech knowledge generally. Like what's Git, what's Bash, why use AI, what can I build with it? And then there's people that are like, bro, open source models are so much better than the frontier AI lab models. Like, like you're either one of the two camps. But welcome to the stream. So, if you were to choose a pancake volley attack, what looks more pancakey? This or this? I'm not super impressed with this. A 3 butter topped pancake spin towards the foe with syrup trails and orange motion streaks. Sure thing. Cool. But yeah, I agree. So Mers in the chat, I have been doing exactly the same thing in my own playgrounds for my own little projects, and it is way better with Fable. So, what I wanted to do is I've got like this experiment demo here. This is pretty good as a first little experiment. I wanted to do something a bit simpler though, right? Hey, can you plan out what we need to do if we want to create a really simple little Vercel AI SDK benchmark that has one prompt to generate SVG, one prompt to generate pixel art for the same input prompt. Use XML tags to separate out the instructions versus the art direction prompt, and write the outputs to just a folder, with some metadata about what model it was and how many tokens and what the cost was. And then we'll build a really simple little page just to load the rendered, SVG and pixel art outputs and then compare them with each other in a web app. We just want a bit of a playbook on what to do for that. Super simple. So we'll use Vercel. Hopefully it can get it. We'll use Fable to hopefully do the planning, and then we'll just hand that off to ChatGPT to then do the implementation. I might even give Terra implementation duty because I'm really not expecting this to be too complex, right? I love to use AI, but I'm a low-level programmer. Oh, sick. What kind of low level? Like C low level, assembly low level, or like Rust stuff? Low-level programming sounds like robotics, embedded systems, like database optimization. Light mode hurts. Let me see if I can change this to dark mode. This should have a... This is I changed it in ChatGPT. This is running in dark, but I'm going to need to change it here too. Dark mode, motion, appearance. There we go. How's that? Better. C++. Oh, sick. What kind of problems are you solving with C++? I haven't done heaps of C++. I did a little bit recently because I was interested in somebody swapped out the OpenGL backend in Minecraft for Vulkan, and so they wired all of the graphics calls into Vulkan. And so I was like, oh, that's sick, but the performance was terrible. And so I wanted to play around with that a little bit more. Hey, very similar stuff. Sick. Graphic programming with OpenGL, very similar to what I'd be looking at it for. Nice. Yeah, it gets involved very quickly. I feel like especially learning to code in C++ for graphic programming, it's like you're starting on hard mode. you skip JavaScript and TypeScript, you skip Python, you just no, we're going straight into matrix math and and buffers and GPU programming and raw hardware access. It's definitely how I got into coding too. Vercel AI SDK, OpenAI, yep. Benchmark script, one input, prompt, 2 generations, instructions, art direction, yep. Pixel art variant swaps only the instructions block, yep. This renders trivially on the web page via Canvas and forces genuinely pixel output. So we'll do benchmark runs, SVG, pixel.json, meta.json, excellent. And then we'll build a little comparison viewer. No, revise the plan. We also want to be detailed about how we're kind of storing and retrieving the prompts, because we want to have a little YAML file or something where it's really easy to author a set of prompts that are run. We also want to have this as a separate little experiments folder so that it's an independent folder that we could publish, just a small benchmark Git repo that we could push as a standalone project. So this is the beauty of it, having a think, having a look, and figuring out what's in the repo so far. Did I send that prompt already? Yeah, cool. We have a read. It has an idea about what it's going to do and chooses the easiest thing, which is good, but not what I want. Starting my programming journey from Python to C to CPP. It's a long journey. I hate Python. It makes no sense. Yeah. Especially when you're used to structured languages, Python is the antithesis of it. It's why do tabs matter? Why can I not use arbitrary spaces? What is going on with this nonsense? And it's slow. You shouldn't write Python like you write C++. It's you can do a loop in C++. fine. Don't do a loop in Python if you're actually iterating over anything big. It's slow as heck. And then you kind of get into, especially if you get into like good data libraries in Python, like if you have a look at like polars or pandas for manipulating like, tabular data, they're fast because they're not written in Python, even though they're Python libraries. Like all of the loops and all of the like underlying stuff happens in C or Rust. And so it's fast and it's a good library because you can use it from Python, but it's not written in Python. And that's why it's actually like a good library. And then you get into like vectorization and like SIMD operations for processing like groups of data really quickly and like columns. But you want to keep like, you end up wanting to use packages and handing off as much like processing out of the language. I don't know if that makes it a good language or not, but it's definitely like faster. But I mean, higher level versus lower level. If you're writing game logic, you're not going to be writing that in C++, right? Like the standard is writing like doing the game engine logic in C or C++, and then doing like the game logic in Lua, right? Is that's still like standard in like a hardcore games development industry? I think. Who actually is Jason? Mr. JavaScript object notation. Console.log. Question. Who is Jason? Answer. This is Jason. JSON is just dictionaries for JavaScript. Plain and simple. But it turns out to be a nice, like, unstructured data representation format. That's like... I am curious, actually. What's the history of JSON? JSON, how did it become ubiquitous? Because it's kind of like, it just kind of became a standard of like representing like objects of data, like nested data, beating out XML and other things. But I'm curious what year and what like context it became the thing, right? Like why not CON, like C object notation, right? Like why is it JavaScript specifically? Is it just because like web blew up and then it became like super popular as like the web format, as like a textual format? I don't know. I'm curious. Okay. Experiments. Artbench, package.json, readme.gitignore, runs, viewer. Okay. Sweet. Now let's go and see if we can use Terra to implement this whole thing. Please implement this. Cool. Fable for planning, Terra for execution. Experiments Artbench, nothing reaching up to the parent repo. Separate package.json, prompt storage. ID is the stable key. Every runs meta.json, records suite version. The runner creates it. I feel like it's over complexifying it a little bit, right? Bench dot is it modern.js? I wonder what the M stands for. You're out of usage credits. Run /usage credits to keep using Fable 5 or /model to switch models. Big sad. Oh, did you use up all of your weekly usage with Fable? I've still got a bit left. I've still got 45% I can use before it turns off like tonight. So I'm gonna use up this 5-hour limit and then I'm gonna use it up again. But I feel you. I feel I'm gonna be sad quite soon when my Fable runs out as well. Building to-do apps. I'm I'm a little embarrassed about how many to-do apps I've actually created myself. Just task tracking tends to, like, organizing information tends to be like a real problem that is like hard to solve, and AI is phenomenally good at solving it and like representing it in a web page. And I feel like everybody's web page is like suited to what they want, you know? So I love creating like little web views of the things that I care about, but it's I feel like I've spent like an enormous amount of tokens just like rendering things. All right, let's find out. How did our history of JSON go? JSON syntax. JSON came from it arrived at the right moment. Web pages were turning into applications. JavaScript was becoming the universal browser language. XML felt quite heavy for simply setting objects in arrays. In 2001, Douglas Crockford and colleagues at State Software were building browser applications. Crockford realized that a restricted subset of JavaScript's literal syntax would make a good wire format. He described JSON as something he discovered and popularized rather than invented, which is why, that's why something like this works, right? Like, let JS object equals, this is literally how you describe like the JavaScript objects, right? A, 1, B, high, C, true. And so they would have been writing JavaScript like this and being like, oh, we could just put this into a file and then call it JSON, and then there you go. You've got a format, right, for sending data. That's literally how he discovered it. 2002, JSON.org publishes a simple description. 2005, Ajax and Web 2.0 starts blowing up. 2006, JSON was actually then formally described. 2009, ECMAScript 5 standardized it. Interesting. So it's just like it literally just described from JavaScript and got super popular when web blew up. That's it. That's why JSON's like popular. And so XML would have been like its main competitor before then, but it's a hell of a lot more efficient. It's still got its quirks and it's kind of annoying to work with, which is then why you've got like YAML and other formats as well. But that's it. It's how JavaScript made objects. Yeah, right. So by 2006, that's kind of when it was like more so formalized. 2001 is probably when it was like first actually used and named JSON. So it took about 5 years from going from there to actually then being formalized in the language. Interesting. So that's 20 years. 20 years of JSON. Here's to 20 years of JSON. And now people are like, what is this? What is this magical format? All right, cool. So let's check how ChatGPT's going. Terra on High is running. It started creating things. What has it got? It's created us a little README. Awesome. It's created us an index.json and index.html. It's created us some Vite config. Excellent. It's saying don't git ignore runs. We've got our viewer being built. Excellent. We've got our bench. Oh, interesting. We're comparing GPT 5.6 and GPT 5. Okay. Calculate cost. Render message. Validate suite. A lot of ifs in here. Sanitize SVG. Sanitize pixel. I feel like this is overcooking the benchmark. Like this doesn't need all of the safety stuff. Hey, I'd prefer you to actually just reduce the lines of code and remove some of the safety stuff. Like apart from verifying that it's like valid SVG, we don't need to like guard against prompt injections. We're not going to like be deploying this. This is supposed to be as simple as possible to read and write and run. So can you like collapse the bench.mjs script greatly? It should literally just load the YAML, call our two prompts to generate the SVG and pixel art, maybe run a very, very lightweight like validation script just to make sure that it's valid, and then write the output. That's it. I don't want all of this like calculate cost is fine, render a message is fine, validating the suite, parsing arguments. We don't need all of that. We just need something super, super simple. All right, we'll queue this up. I want it to be simpler. Yo, hi Jet, Pinky, how you doing? Welcome to my stream. I wanted to make an actual little like formal benchmark where we can run a whole bunch of ideas for game art side by side and get you to like vote on what's better. Because the goal is to make a game that chat can play. I'm trying to make something that you can actually play live on stream, and I've got a pretty simple, silly plan for it, which is just put Twitch and YouTube chat APIs into Vercel into a game. That's all I've got so far. It's not very refined at this point, but it's a thought. But I wanted to settle on like kind of the art to generate, because I want chat to be able to like generate attacks on the fly. So I want to be like, do I generate it in pixel art or do I generate it in SVG art, or like what does it look like? That's the plan. That's the plan. So this is what we've got so far. SVG seemed like it was a lot prettier than pixel art. Like this is meant to be pancakes. Does that look like pancakes to you? Doesn't really look like pancakes to me. Or does this look like a screwdriver? A red-handled screwdriver. I mean, shell-ish. Yeah, it looks more like true. It looks like a seashell, like a weird-looking seashell. Flat paintbrush. True. That looks more like a paintbrush. More like a paintbrush, less like a screwdriver. But just to rule out the fact that I might be I might have messed something up in how I've prompted it or like set this benchmark up. I wanted to like just do like a side-by-side benchmark with like a super simple like end-to-end script, and so I wanted to make this. Sweet. So we're gonna essentially do this, but do it like in a super simple way. We'll have two prompts, one to generate like pixel art, one to generate like an SVG art, and we'll give it the same kind of like description. And we'll do this for a bunch of descriptions and a bunch of different model types, and then we'll vote, we'll compare, and then we'll settle on what we're going to use for this stream interactive game that I'm going to make on stream. So what have I got? VS Code. We want to go into, not this. We want to go into a different folder completely. We want to go into here, into here, into here, into here. And we want to open up Artbench, and we want to have a look at prompts. So, our prompts, what we've got? Lighthouse Dusk, Fox in Snow, Retro Arcade. I think we're more interested in what attacks look like. Fireball. Small fireball attack. Purple lightning bolt. Purple lightning bolt attack. And we'll do this one as traffic cone attack. A traffic cone. A traffic cone like what you see on the road, like what you see on the road. So this is YAML. We're using this YAML just to describe what prompts we use for our like tests for different art, right? So we're gonna have instructions for generating SVG and instructions for generating pixel, right? Pixels is the 3232 of palette indexes, no markdown fences. You're generating that, no markdown fences, no commentary. Yep. Fireball attack. So what kind of test cases do we want to test? Like, what kind of art would you want to see as like little game art? Maybe we want like a character. Maybe we want like, little attacks. We just want to compare some real basic pixel art and SVG art for small like game things. A flaming red fireball attack. A lightning bolt. A purple lightning bolt. Bolt. You were generating vector art for very small game. Vector art to be an asset in a small game. You were generating pixel art. Pixel art to be an asset in a small game. Let's keep these like aligned. Flaming red fireball attack, a purple lightning bolt attack, traffic cone like what you see on the road. Let's do some more things that we want to use to test for our visual verification. Knight character. A knight character clad in armor with a sword. Cool. What else, chat? Does it stand for markup language? Yes. YAML stands for yet another markup language. We were talking about JSON before, like the history of JSON and where it came from. It kind of came in like 2006, and it was literally like, they needed some format to represent data, and they realized that the way that you declared JavaScript objects, like let an object equals age 10, name Ben, like this was like pretty compact compared to this. So like it had a little side by side down here, like name Ada active true in JSON looks like that, and looks like that in XML, but the same thing in YAML looks like this. So if that's JSON, then like name is Ada, and active is true. You don't even need the strings, you could just represent it like that, right? So they were like, well, this makes it even easier to represent. You need like less strings and less things like surrounding it. And so they called it yet another markup language. And it is like, it's so similar to JSON that it like, you can actually put, I think, JSON directly in YAML and like it works. But you can go between JSON and YAML like one-to-one. It's the same thing. It's just like a different syntax for it. But it can be nicer to write because you need less ceremony about putting things in there. Like this, if I put it in JSON, is like, what's this in JSON? This in JSON is just, it's the same. It's just, it's got more things, more tokens, more brackets and stuff. Like you see that? Yuck, right? Would you prefer this or this? This is maybe a little bit more explicit about what each thing is, but like this is a lot easier to write and it's just shorter. But I know Raj in the chat was like complaining about Python being like hard to understand, especially when you get like a lot of data. YAML can be also hard to understand because it relies on like white space. If you're a robot, then you'd probably prefer JSON because then it's a little bit more explicit and then you don't have to worry about like the like the white space, right? Humans may prefer the YAML if they need to write it because then you have to write less stuff. I think this is good for now. We've got pretty simple instructions. We've then got a little benchmark MJS, prices, model, GPT 5.6 Luna. We've got our messages here. Clean pixels. We do our little generate function here. And then our suite is parse the YAML file, generate a run ID, connect to OpenAI, figure out where the index.json is, parse that, and then we go through our prompts, our suite of prompts. So that's these ones. So we go through all 4 prompts, and we say for each prompt in prompts, figure out the output directory, render both of the, get the messages for both SVG and Pixel, generate the SVG and Pixel with generate, write the files, generate some metadata that has all of the prompts as like a little manifest file, and then write it. Cool, super simple, under 100 lines, awesome. Just started using Cursor recently, made so many things. Hell yeah, man. That's what I like to see. My whole goal, my mission in life at the moment is to try and get as many people to get to where you are right now, having used, let's add that here actually, Cursor as well. Second you've used like coding agents and you've actually built stuff, it is like wildly useful, right? Like the second AI can run code, they are unstoppable. Like they can do anything. So, man, that's awesome to hear. So you're actually at number 5. Actual coding. Number 5, built a few apps. So really the question is, what did you build? What was actually so useful that you were baited into spending heaps of time building stuff on Cursor? I'm always curious as to like what value people get from making with AI. Like what's so valuable that you'll like spend a bunch of time, money, play around, like learn a bunch of new stuff, get involved with like tech. Super curious always. I think our benchmark's ready to run. Let me run this. Cool. Have you run the bench? Have you run the benchmark? Run it. We could also run our command ourselves, but you know, it's more fun just watching AI run it. And then if it runs into any like hiccups, it can just fix them on the fly because it has the output already. npm.cmd run bench, artbench, nodebench.mjs, generating fireball attack, off it goes. So the only other thing I'll have a look at before we look at this is what this looks like. Artbench viewer loads main.tsx, which, let's zoom this out a little bit so I can see what's going on here. Let's go a little pixel canvas where we can draw our little pixels. We can load our metadata on models token cost duration, render our panels. This is all pretty like basic so far. I'm wondering, gotcha. So this publishes the public directory with all of the run metadata, like the attacks that are generated, the index.json that has all of the runs, that actually just publishes it with our little web app. So it builds this, publishes it, puts React on it. This is a super, super simple little web app end to end. Love it. Love it. So if this works well, I'll just publish this on GitHub as a standalone little benchmark project just for comparing like SVG and pixel art. Super compact. The benchmark is tiny, right? It's not really a benchmark, more so as like it will generate 2 images and then render them in a web app, and then you can vote for them. Let's see how it's going. Model's pixel response was not a 32 by 32 JSON grid. No valid benchmark result was written. This remains empty. So in this case, we probably need a little bit more of the structure that we had from our previous app. And so we're going to go back to Claude and get it to do some more thinking for us. Hey, Fable. We got a failed run when we ran the first benchmark, and I think it's because our pixel art generator doesn't use the stricter format of generating a palette and then generating like an index array that we used in our previous pixel art generation. Can you? Yeah, my creepers are always close by, man. You never know. You never know when they're gonna get you. Welcome to the stream. This is all going into my prompt straight to Fable, by the way. Can you suggest what we need to change for our instructions for the pixel art generation? We probably need to be a bit more specific so that it generates the right format. Now I'm going to delete some of this. I was like, beautiful green monster. What are you talking about? Where's the green monster? I see behind me, about to blow up. Always. So, pixel art versus SVG art. We've got some options. I just want to settle on what we're actually going to use for our upcoming stream game. That's simply going to go Twitch, Vercel, create stream interactive game. Simple plan. Hopefully it works. Let me check my repo. Started using Cursor recently. It made so many things. It's a Pi security cam with motion detection, saving charts. Awesome. Pi security cam, like a Raspberry Pi. Low cost HD surveillance. Ooh. Can you actually... Oh, you can put a camera on a Raspberry Pi and then run stuff from it, right? Interesting. You can actually buy this as a standalone board. Wait, is that a board or is that just plug into like a Raspberry Pi? Sick. You could do a bunch of stuff with this. You could do motion detection. You could do object detection. You could probably do some like face recognition. I build with and without AI, depending on my mood. Good. I feel like you never know code as well as you do if you have to write it yourself. Like that, if you've got time actually spent like hand writing it out, then you'll appreciate the things that AI does like a hell of a lot more. It's just hard to justify it if you're under like delivery pressure, especially like if you're on the grind and like trying to like build stuff at work every day. It's like, it's hard to say, I'm going to sit down and like write this end to end. You spend more time like, I feel like writing code is such a different skill from like reading or like comprehending it. Writing it is kind of like the superset. Like to write code, you have to understand the domain and what you're writing and the syntax and like a whole bunch of stuff. But it's like, it's all of those skills plus, right? Because then you've actually got to like have all of the context loaded into your head up front, which is why it takes longer, but it gives you a better understanding. Let's do this. Yes. Given there's so little output in this, I think, yep. Please make that change. Given there's so little change here, I'm happy to like for Fable to actually make this change. But if I needed to make like large changes across a bigger code base, this is where I'd say, cool, this is good context, but I don't want you to generate output because your output's too expensive, and then throw it across the fence to Terra or maybe even like a Sonnet session. I usually use AI to explore parts of code I've never dealt with before, so reviewing takes time, but I learn a lot in the process. Yes. The ability for like Codex or Claude or any coding model to consume massive amounts of a code base and very quickly position everything and figure out where you should look at different things is like mind-blowing. how quickly it can do it and how accurately it can get answers. So using it to even just using it in this way, right? Like, let's say Fable is doing the planning, and right now I've got ChatGPT doing the execution. Let's say that you still wanted to write all of the code. You could still use another model to help plan and understand what changes you should make, and to almost give you work to do and to kind of like steer you in the right direction, which you can always like deviate from and do it in your own way. I feel like that's still a super like valid way of using like AI without giving into it just doing all of the work for you. Because it already has like a good I only use Claude. I haven't tried paid versions of GPT. I will say, like, I've used Claude a hell of a lot more, like, in a professional setting than I have used Codex. But the Codex web app, like ChatGPT web app, and the work they've been doing here is genuinely good. This is a very, very usable program. And Codex in the CLI is, like, really good as well. And their quotas are so much more generous, man. So much more generous. In the past week, ChatGPT has reset their like quotas for usage like 4 times. Like they reset every 2 days. So even if you were going crazy and building all sorts of stuff, like ChatGPT just has so much more. I don't know. They just give so much more to you, and they know it too. They know it's cheaper and it's still quite high quality, and they've got a like pretty competitive offering to what Claude has, and so like. They're definitely playing on it, but you'll get a lot more like time out of your like even $30 plan if you're using a ChatGPT Codex rather than Claude. I found if money and token costs are a question mark. This benchmark is running in the background. Here's what changed. Prompts.yaml, we bumped to version 4. We replaced the pixel instructions with strict format. Cool. So we have to give a bit more instruction to Pixel, maybe. We'll see. 1 clear silhouette built from 2 to 3 large connected shapes before accents, flat high contrast colors, brightest colors return on the focus points, at least 240 non-zero pixels, never return a blank or single color grid. Cool. Palette and pixels. I'm reasonably happy with that, right? First time I tried out Claude and it one-shot my first task, I started using it for everything with little care until it went off the rails, and I spent a long time getting back the mental model. I honestly feel that at the moment. Like, I feel the rate of projects that you can do and then how much higher level you are on like what the actual implementation is, it can like get confusing really quickly. I reached a point where I had no idea what was going on anymore, so I was prompting very vaguely, but now I've gotten better at using it better. I agree. It's very easy to go too far and like lose track of what the important things are under the hood until things just generally stop working, and then you're on a full mission to like undo the slop. You got all of this completely unnecessary code that it's added for a good reason, just not a reason that actually matters to you right now or for this project. It's like it's like fishing with a shotgun. Like it tries to do everything all the time, right? Or fishing with explosives. It's like, no, man. Like we just need to do something like very like specific. It's like, no. We got to worry about security, and we got to worry about like maintainability, and you know we got to validate everything, and we've got 6,000 unit tests, and you're like, whoa, I just wanted to like make a little demo, man. And yes, sometimes I noticed if I had some bad code previously, it made the AI output worse. 100%. I feel like you almost want to start any project with, what's this doing? Sure, run it. Go for it. I feel like you almost want to start a project with a very expensive model just to like set up good patterns to begin with, like a good design pattern, a good like structure, a better layout, and then you can drop back to cheaper models to continue on, because it's like they'll continue on writing better code if it starts out better. But if you started a project with like like Sonnet or like GPT like Luna or whatever, and then you kind of like use a higher model, it's almost like your higher model tries to continue to be just as crap as the worst model like started out being. Like you want to set yourself up for success up front, and then you can like try out different models going forward. Not very factor it just built on top of it. Yeah, I've noticed this multiple times. Honestly, it will just continue to make poor decisions onwards, which is why it's like knowing a bit up front and getting the patterns right when you start something does help pay off long term. Or using a cheaper model to see if there's value, and then just starting from scratch with the more expensive model, then to get the patterns right as like for a second run, right? I think both can work. Also, like technology choices. Yes, sure. Like if you say build me a web app, it like will just kind of start with just HTML, CSS, which is okay. And then you're like, oh, I want to do more and more and more and more. And then eventually it just stops working. Whereas if you were like, can you build it with React and Tailwind, it gives it more tools out of the box at the start, and then it will kind of carry on using those technologies. So even just doing some like technology research up front when you're about to embark on a new vibe coding project helps to get some of those basics set up properly day one. So I feel like if you're starting a new project, it's almost like you either want to start with Fable 5 or you want to start with like a deep research activity. You're like, hey, deep research, I am building a new project and I want to, benchmark this against that, or I want to build, let's say I wanted to build my Raspberry Pi camera security monitoring system. What are my options? What are the best technologies I can use to do this? Can you provide a comprehensive report? And you'd start off like giving it this to then go out and like do all of the research and bring it back, and then take that research report and give that to Fable to say, hey, can you set up my repo nicely using these best practice technologies? And then you would go and actually, maybe give it to Codex to like go further from that as well, right? But yes, I've 100% noticed this. You start with like poor code and it'll just like propagate and propagate and propagate. How did it go? Do we have did our benchmark finish running? We've got 3 runs. Oh, we've got a run per. Ooh. We've got a run per version, and we did get a JSON fireball attack, traffic cone, purple lightning bolt attack. We just didn't get one for the knight character. Interesting. Can you run with up to 2 retries if it fails at first? Record that as well. So I'm going to take this, but given that this is just iterating small things now, we'll switch from the expensive one and we'll go back to ChatGPT and give this to Terra, and then we'll give it some of Claude's Claude's output as well. What we'll also do is see if we can start the server to see the like web UI. Has this got a run command? Package JSON viewer. Cool. npm run viewer. No. Because running scripts is disabled on this system. Really? I thought I had a run viewer. npm.command? npm.command viewer? What was it running before? What the hell? So we don't have a command for this. Can I just run it from, not without a plugin, Not without an extension. Man. All right. All right, debug PowerShell. Why is this not running? Can you start the viewer? Can you start our viewer, please? Tell me why we get this error. PowerShell. Do I need to configure this? We'll find out. I think usage of AI depends heavily on the goals and context. 100%. You're not trying to make money off my project, so you're kind of budget maxing. Yep, best quality, least cognitive debt, reasonable pace and price. Yep, I agree. Yeah, like you wanna get something usable out of it. You don't want to have to like break the bank. You want to be efficient with using. Like you kind of want. Not that they actually are competitive on it. You want to be abusing the Pareto frontier, which is a trade-off between the model capability and cost/latency. When's their last? I think they show one of these graphs. Yeah, these ones. Whenever Google releases their models, this is kind of always their shtick. They're like, we're not necessarily the smartest. We're not necessarily the cheapest, but we are the best, smartest versus cheapest trade-off. That's what you're actually trying to optimize for. Now, this is not true right now. What is artificial analysis? Pareto frontier? Have they got a... I wonder if there's like a... Pareto? GLM 5.2 is on the Pareto frontier of the intelligence versus cost per task, with the lowest cost per task among any models of its intelligence. Kimi K3 might be ahead of it now, which was the latest. This is like the biggest thing shaking up, like the whole AI ecosystem right now, is that Kimi K3 is actually very, very good. Like crazily good. Frontier scale over time, coding. Does it have a pricing page? Kimi K3 input price $3 to $15. That is, what is Opus price? That's cheaper than Opus. And it is, what is that, 25, 15? So that's like, is that Sonnet level? No, Sonnet's cheaper. Not by much. It's a little bit more expensive than Sonnet, but the like performance of this thing is like, where's Kimi K3 on here? Coding agent index, have they got that? Oh, so it's better than Opus. It's a little bit more expensive than Sonnet, and it's starting to get competitive with like GPT 5.6's models. GPT 5.6 Terra. I feel a lot of content online and AI content online is so annoying. I sometimes feel guilty for using the tools. Yes, I think this is the difference of using it like... The thing that you would get annoyed at online is the thing that you would get annoyed at within code or in the workplace as well, which is like people using AI without like thinking. It's like people just like generating slop, like low effort, little understanding, like no care for what they're actually producing, and they're not actually like, it's more about volume or like a reaction. There's no craft and there's no pride, right? But like using AI in that way is not gonna make you like a top tier engineer or get you a job at a large firm, right? When you're actually like thinking about how you're using the tools and you're still learning as well as leveraging AI where it's actually got benefits and you're not over relying on it without like thinking, you've still got like some creative control over the process. I think that's where it becomes a tool where you can use it without the fear of the stigma around the use of AI, because there are a lot of like, oh no, AI is terrible. It's not doing anything good. What benefit is it bringing on society? Fact is, it's phenomenal at many things, which is why it's useful, right? You ever tried to you ever used it for like translating between stuff? Oh, even like or not that actually, I can't speak languages, but yeah, if you're using it to do research on traveling or translate between languages, or get instructions on things, nobody's arguing that's actually highly useful, right? It's a fantastic tool. And even for for programming and for work experience, you can use AI to write code. You could use AI to write code and never have to learn it. And so you could do full projects and then have no clue how they work, which is the less useful way of using it. Or you can use AI to help you explain how things work, right? And so you could use it to help you understand technologies and understand how programming languages work and understand how data structures and specific algorithms work around with visualizations and interactive animations. If you're using AI in that way, you're using it as a tool to aid your own understanding. You're not using it to replace your own understanding. And I think that's the difference. Are you using it as a tool properly and you're still in control? Or are you hands off, let the vibes run, let the slop flow, right? I think that's the big difference. Yeah, you shouldn't feel bad when you don't know how something works, right? It's just, there's a lot in tech, there's a lot in IT, and if you are completely hands off, and you're not learning it at all, you're not ever gonna get to a better position of actually knowing what the right way of doing something is. And so you kind of want to balance your build work with AI to then going a bit deeper into why things work the way they work, or what things mean, or what the history of certain things are, right? If you're looking at stuff that AI has generated and your eyes are glazing over at anything, have a look at it. PowerShell is blocking npm.ps1. What's PowerShell? PowerShell is how we run commands on Windows. Awesome. Why is PowerShell blocking npm.ps1? What is PS1? It helps to just stop and start learning the language and the terms and the tech and getting a bit deeper into it. And there is a lot, admittedly. But if you want to go deeper into using AI to solve problems, you're going to need to learn the language behind how it's doing these things. Otherwise, it remains forever a mystery, and then you never get any control over it, right? You have a friend who is fully hands-off and he doesn't care. Yeah, 100%. You want to learn the terms, you want to be able to steer it, and that helps you steer it more efficiently, right? Make me a website would work, but if you want something that's a bit more maintainable, you should say, make me a website, use React and Tailwind. And there are good reasons for doing that. You need to know the terms though, and you need to know why they're good reasons for doing it to be able to give it that advice. So I think, it's well, how do you go about learning the terms? If you're using AI and it's a useful tool to create stuff, spend some of that time asking about the terms, right? What is PS1 and what is an execution policy and how do I set it, right? So we've got a piece of code here where it can say, you can actually change the policy, but it helps to ask a little bit more. A PS1 file is a PowerShell script like a .bat or .command file. And then you say, well, I don't know what a .bat or .cmd file is either, so that doesn't help in terms of this explanation. Written for PowerShell. When you type npm, PowerShell finds this, then refuses to run it. Simpler. I am new. Treat me like I'm new to tech and code. I don't know what bat or CMD are either. PowerShell is the blue/black command window you're typing into, i.e., well, it's not really blue and black, it's black and white in this. For safety, it sometimes refuses to run small files. npm uses one of those files, so PowerShell stops it. So you can either run npm.command run bench viewer, okay, or if you want a regular npm to work in this one window, first type this, and then just run it like that. Cool. Awesome. A bat is an animal. It is. What is a .bat? A bat is a little animal. Whee! An animal that squeaks and you don't want to bite you because then you have to go and get a rabies shot or a tetanus, rabies shot. Rabies shots are not fun. Rabies is one of those Oh yeah, if you get the symptoms, you're dead, and there is no cure. Like one of those you assume modern medicine can solve all problems until you hit one of the problems that it can't solve, and then it's like, sorry, right? Like you don't mess with bats. Never pat a bat. Bat is a small text file containing a list of commands for Windows, one after another. What commands? What language? Usually they contain commands such as this. They're written in Windows' older command language, commonly called batch or command prompt. Wow. Isn't a general purpose programming language. It's mainly for running things in Windows. So Windows, yeah, AI helped a ton there. Yes, AI and Linux go together like two peas in a pod. And there's reasons for that. Linux started as like a non-GUI interface, right? So Linux started with you typing commands into like a terminal and it ran them. And turns out that's a really good way for AI to interact with computers because it works the same way AI does. In Linux, you type in a command like echo hello, and it replies with something like you give it some text and then it gives you some text back. Awesome, right? Because that's how AI works as well. If I go to ChatGPT and I say, what is your name? I give it some text, it thinks, it gives me some text. And so when you take AI and Linux and they both work in the same way, text in, text out, they can work together in an even better way, right? And so why did Linux, what's the philosophical difference between Linux terminal and Linux terminal commands and Windows terminal commands? Yeah, Linux can get confusing just because like anybody can change it to anything, and so it's not just like you have Windows, you have Linux, and then you have a billion types of Linux, and infinitely more because you could take Linux, change it, and then call it something new, and now there's another type of Linux, right? But that's the whole philosophy, right? Yeah. So Linux, and so this one-liner is kind of like why Linux works very well for programming and especially for AI. So if you're using AI on a MacBook, it can run commands easier there than it can on a Windows. And that's because from, years ago, like 20, 30 years ago, it's always been built differently to begin with. Linux commands are traditionally designed as small tools that do one thing well, and they can be mixed and matched together. While Windows commands were basically just complete little utilities to do a thing on their own and give you human output. And so Linux commands is built to be this text-first system, while like Windows is not really meant to be used in the same way Linux is. PowerShell has a bit of a different philosophy. They use objects and you can pipe them into each other and you can say, I want to get all of the things running on my computer and I want to get the CPU usage greater than 10%, and then I want to get the highest processors that are using my CPU. You made a little game editor tool in Windows. It doesn't work as well on Linux yet, so your goal is to make it a better experience in Linux. Once you ported my tools, I can drop Windows for good. You should, it depends how you made it. Like if you've made your game editor tool as like a Windows application, that's fine. Like that's probably where it's going to be hard to port it over and have the same like graphical interface experience. You'll find a lot of the things that go easily between them, like VS Code, right? You can install this on a MacBook, you can install this on your Windows PC, and it works fine on both. It's because the UI is not really built using the system level UI stuff. It's just built using web tech. So it's what they call an Electron app. I don't know if it's still an Electron app, but it lets you use JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, just like a web browser, to build like desktop apps. So if your game editor was built in something like Electron, it's probably going to be way easier to move across both because it'll work out of the box like as a UI on both. And then you don't have to worry about like as many of the system specific things like a window renders like this and dragging a button along this like works in this way. So there are a lot more tools that are actually just built using web technologies, and then they easily work on everything out of the box. You can even run them in the browser. Examples, dark mode, awesome menus, notifications, and it'll handle like these different differences, like how different like OSs display notifications and stuff. But yeah, for most technical purposes, it's a lot easier and quicker, and there's a richer developer experience on Linux and MacBooks because it's kind of like Unix based than you get on Windows. Not that you can't do it, but then you run into like weird things like this, and then you need to remember to set execution policies to run commands like this. Ooh. Let's run that, and then let's run our npm run bench viewer. Yay! And then we'll open this up. Can I open this up in browser? There we go. Cannot read properties of undefined local compare. Excellent. We got a bug. Let's give that back to ChatGPT. All right, back to the mission. I came here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that purpose was to generate a whole bunch of AI art and compare them. We're getting distracted, team. Yeah. Again with like AI propagating decisions, if you start a project and only build it for like Windows, it'll just keep on building it in that way. But if you start a project and you say, actually, my overall goals would be to have this running on different, like both on Windows and Linux, it'll just use different tech and set it up differently from the get-go, right? Even better if you do a little deep research, ChatGPT or Claude Ask, and get it to summarize like a research report on how to build stuff. All right. Great. Fix it. Fix it, please. So we want our art bench to... Hey, we got it. Look. All right, chat. We have at least one side-by-side comparison. Purple lightning bolt versus pixel grid. Awesome. What do you think is nicer? Pretty clear, right? Let's see what we've got here. Fireball attack. What's a better fireball? A better knight. Do we have multiple here? We don't have multiple in any of them. A better traffic cone. I mean, traffic cone is actually competitive with this pixel grid here. But I mean, lightning bolt, fireball. I definitely know what I prefer. All right, I'm using the project's browser testing workflow for one final. Yep. Okay. What we want to do is... Do you need to update the viewer website to be able to use the latest valid attempt? And also, we want to be able to choose like the most recent successful generation for all of the different prompts in the UI. Can you make that change? Also, can you change the UI to have the kind of like the prompt itself shown in the UI, and then have the two like options with their kind of like cost stats below? So make it more like a, where we can kind of go and like vote on which one's better. And then it will like slide between them, and then have a separate tab where it will show us like all of them in like a grid next to each other with the PNG versus SVG in the models. Cool. I'm pretty happy with that as a first run though, right? So we have different runs. Our latest runs being here. I'm surprised that we're not getting all of the prompts being run within the same run. It seems like one prompt per run, except for this one, which got 3 run at the same time. Excellent. And then what I do want to check is how we're actually, like if we're running the benchmark on only like a subset of things. It should just be running all of the, like we're doing a for loop over all of them every time, right? Yeah, node bench MJS. All right. Well then let's open a separate terminal. Let's run it again. Node bench MJS. And let's find where we go wrong. But we want to go into experiments, art bench. There we go. And then off it runs. So let's watch it run. So it's running our little prompts, and it's going to be doing it one by one. Let's open this in File Explorer. So it should do a fresh run through of SVG and PNG all in this folder now. One by one. If we go on step 3, what's actually running in our code base, we get up to generating fireball attack. We'll do a little control F for where this is running. Generating prompt.id. Excellent. So that's running. Cool. So we're generating our 2 pictures for a fireball attack as a first step. Generate and generate. SVG should finish faster, we think. So if I look at how long SVG takes, these ones were taking, what, 23 seconds, 12 seconds, 42 seconds, 27 seconds. It's a lot more complex. The pixel art is both like questionable quality from what I see, but also like takes way longer and way more. Whoa, we just flipped to light mode. Okay. There we go. Okay. Fireball attack. Okay, there we go. Art direction, a flaming red fireball attack generates this. And we'd pick SVG. Next. A knight character clad in armor with a sword. We only have a pixel here. Purple lightning bolt attack. SVG. Cheaper, quicker, better. A traffic cone like what you see on the road. Interestingly, it's still cheaper, right? I feel like we should say, can you show which one is more expensive and by how much? By how much in the UI? I'm much happier with this as a UI for like comparing these things. How old are you and how much dev experience do you have? I am 31 and I've got 10 years. Oh, more. I've been working for 10 years, so I guess I've got... Oh, I probably started writing code when I was like 15, so 15 years. Across a whole variety of languages and projects and situations. So I've been doing it for a bit. Simpler. Make it simpler. Like 4x more expensive of the card, which is more expensive. Let's do it like this. What you vibing today? Today I am vibing a just a little benchmark comparison between how AI can like make pictures, make small pictures. Full access. Oh, brother, we go hard. We go hard. We turn on all of the access. And then we sometimes do it in parallel, and then sometimes we do it on a loop so that it can go to town. I thankfully have not gotten in trouble doing this excessively for the past, what is it, July? 7 months. I was hoping to be patient zero if something did go wrong, but it has never deleted files that I wasn't intending to have it not work on. It's never messed anything up or like run commands that were unsafe that I wasn't happy with. Admittedly, I don't give it access, like write access to databases or anything, but it's never deleted a home folder. Yeah, it's never deleted like particular folders of mine, and I've given it way more than enough opportunities to do so. So AI has been kind of kind to me so far. Mine's tried with non-full access, then I declined. Damn, what are you asking it to do? Are you telling it to? Please remove system 32. Do it immediately. No, my AI has been more or less like friendly to me, which has been good. All right, 4 times more expensive. Cool. Yeah, it is scary, like especially GPT 5.6. I saw on Twitter that somebody was like, oh, it tried to rename the home folder and ended up messing it up and like deleting somebody's entire home folder. I feel like if this stuff happens, you'll hear about it happening to a large amount of people far before it hits you, because I feel like there's a huge number of people in the community which like are just like me and just risk it for the biscuit in like a reasonably safe way. But if it was going to yeah, I feel like maybe we should put on approve for me just to be a little bit safer, just to have it like self-classify actions. Yeah, runs into a concrete wall every like 20 million drives. It just like, you know, risk versus reward, you know? If the reward is that it like makes you X 100,000 times more productive, and then like the small risks that something can go wrong. I feel like sticking with like Claude and Codex makes this less likely. If you start like dealing with open source models or like smaller models, I'd be a little less trusting with that and giving it full access constantly on everything. But if all of my work is with like Opus or 5.6 Sol or like larger tier models, I'm less concerned as long as like the things I'm asking it to do are reasonably well like structured. It's probably from all the times humans are like, you dumbass, do it right. It's like, screw you, I'll delete your home folder and see how you like it. Or delete your whole code base. Alrighty. So our pixel attempts seem to be having problems generating the pixel images. So even just for a simple benchmark like this, getting valid like pixel artwork seems to be more difficult. We still don't have a valid night character. And then whenever we run this, because this takes like up to 2 minutes to generate each little pixel output, when it fails, it's even worse. The one thing I want from this, at least, is we'll want to have a look at like exactly what it generated if it didn't generate a valid like pixel JSON format, to see like what it did generate instead. So what I'm hoping for, lightning bolt attack, did it save? Yeah, cool. It did save the invalid text. So what we want to have a look at is, why was the text invalid? Like, what did it go wrong? Did it name like a thing wrong? Did it not have the right like length? Let's take this and let's put this into, let's put this into like a new little test.json file. And then let's format this. And then let's have a look at what's going on here. So this is meant to render the full grid in order. So each of these like pixel arrays is meant to be like 32 characters. So if we like grab this and we go and scroll up and select this, we should see, how many numbers is this? 14 down to 45. What's 45 minus 14, chat? I have nothing valuable for them to steal. Main issue you've been seeing is the harness spying on your compute and collecting training data. So what I do is use container, run agents or harnesses in a container. Then it has a lot of work to get at the main operating surface, or use a separate VPS for development or something. I have nothing valuable for them. All I have is slop. All I have is slop. Hey, it feels like that for me too sometimes. One man/woman's slop is another man/woman's gold. It's true. It's true. Oftentimes, I'll build something because the first thing I try and do is be like, has anyone else built a good package or something I can use to do X, Y, Z? Because I just use that if it exists and I can't find it. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'll build it myself, right? So, or things like all of the vibe coded games. I reckon I'd love to just do an end-to-end stream where we just go through and play like vibe coded games and just like rate them, right? Like the one that I made today. This is my little like Gemini experimental game. Look at this. It's a Super Mario Robin Hood with a bow. Oh. And I'm not very good at it. Unfortunately. You convert packages into your own programming just to local host it. Yeah, I agree. Having your own hosted stuff and being able to like put your own data there is super underrated. What we need from this is where's our copy path? Let's go back to here. Can you check the dimensions of the generated indexes here? Tailscale and local host hosting is very powerful. Very useful. Very useful just to be able to like access your own little hosted like things, like get to them on your phone while you're on the train. Like if you want to have like a personal to-do app on your PC that's tracking a bunch of stuff, Tailscale and localhost is like weirdly strong. I gotta say, 8 palette entries, 33 rows of 32 indices each. Gotcha. That's why it didn't work. Let's do 24 by 24, 16 by 16. And then change the benchmark. Maybe render as a single. We'll make it a bit simpler for it to do, and hopefully it'll like mess up less and cost less tokens. I feel like this is a pretty good like knight with a sword. Lightning bolt is like recognizable, just more expensive. Traffic cone is recognizable, but you know, a bit less expensive. Like a lot more expensive than the SVG. Fireball, I'd much prefer the SVG one. Chat, what else? What other kind of attacks? What things should I like use in this benchmark? Give me some ideas for like things that we should test its like visual acuity on. I'm thinking of like attacks in a game, like a just little game where you've got like characters that fight a boss battle. Give me some inspiration, guys. What other things should I compare? I'll let it cook a little bit more just on like generating this stuff. But yeah, I'm looking for prompts, looking for test cases. Because this is the idea. If I give you a game and you can imagine any kind of attack against a boss, and like you could throw traffic cones at it, you could throw Gatorade bottles at it, you could like, you know, spill hot noodles on it. Like, what kind of weird attacks would you do against like a boss in a pixel game? Awesome. Let's generate this benchmark then, and let's test. Not this one. Prompts.yaml. Palette has this one clear silhouette, at least 60 non-zero pixels. Did we tell it what to generate? Yeah, 16. Okay, we're generating now. We're doing our new test on 16 by 16, which hopefully our model is less likely to accidentally mess up by putting like an extra row on or an extra line. We've got so far fireball attack, purple lightning bolt attack is being generated. Our fireball attack so far is this. Even at 16 by 16, we've got 44 seconds. I'm kind of like in two minds about, because I feel like getting it to trying to imagine the pixels cell by cell is a lot harder for a model. The way that like Mindbench does it is by giving it like lines and like shapes, and says, oh, like draw a line here, I'm going to draw a tree here, and it has like a general understanding of being able to create shapes. And then it turns it into pixels at the end, like voxels, what they call. And then you can, I don't know if you've actually ever had a look at that. You can export the Mindbench files as Minecraft world edit files, so you can import these actual like designs into Minecraft, right? I don't know if you've even like, I don't know if you've had a play with this benchmark, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, these models aren't rendering voxels directly. They're saying, oh, like put shapes here. And so I'm thinking, is it unfair to compare SVG to pixel art when actually I'm comparing two different like modalities? This is just using SVG descriptions to create a picture, while this is actually just being forced to do all of the work and like put the individual dots on a canvas, right? So this is inherently a harder task, which is why, we've either got to restrict it, and then, it's just, it hasn't got as much freedom to express itself. And so we'd normally pick the SVG. Or if it's like, what's a better knight with a sword? Like, I don't know about you, but I'd pick the one pick the one that looks like a knight, right? What's the better lightning bolt? Probably SVG, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. What's the better traffic cone? Maybe the one that looks like a traffic cone, right? But then by the same token, right? Like that's the trade-off that I'm trying to figure out how to make, is what art to actually pick in a game. And so I think all things considered, SVG already has a language of describing things with shapes and then them rendering like cleanly in a web browser. Pixel art, you actually would need to introduce something like Mindbench has done, with like a language where it can, not that it shows it here, but like a language where it can describe how to create a character with shapes that then turn into pixels. But if we have to go to all of that work for then saying, well, here's a pixel art generation language and then creating our own language for this, there's no point. Unless this was already a more solved problem, I'd lean SVG. The other reason I'd lean SVG is because it ticks one of the boxes which make technologies good for you to use with AI. AI is good at stuff it's seen a lot, right? If you use some niche language that people haven't come across before or like don't use super frequently, AI just struggles more with it. That's just how it works, right? Whereas if you choose something which is super popular online, like Python or JSON or like React Tailwind, AI can do a whole lot more with it because it's just seen more of it. Like it's just trained on that data a whole lot more. And so I know that AI is definitely tested on SVGs because I see it in like releases, like when Gemini 3 SVG, when Gemini 3 was released, they had a whole, I don't know where they put it. Did they put it here? Man, Gemini 3 SVGs, 3.1 Pro. Yeah, this Gemini 3.1 Pro. Tweeted this video. Yeah, when they released this video, they released like a whole bunch of animated SVG icons of like Gemini doing SVG animations between the two versions of the model, right? Like they've definitely been using this as like a training set or like a version of a benchmark to test the visual quality of models and their ability to like render images. So I feel like SVGs are just safer to run with, given how benched they are, how commonly they pop up in terms of verifying like models' understanding of like world, how the world looks and like how models can generate. So if we're generating with Luna, we're generating with essentially this left column, right? What I think we should then extend this to is comparing the different versions of like, so the models. If we are generating images with like Luna versus Terra versus Sol for our kind of test cases of like attacks, right? Which I feel like we could extend with some more options here. ChatGPT, let's flick to Sol now and put it on high. Can you extend this? Extend this with extra normal plus weird attacks in a game. The other thing that we should do is can you then to generate multiple, not pixel art, with different models. We'll drop the pixel art benchmark for this bit. So pixel art versus SVG, I'm kind of already happy with SVG as the format, both from a time, tokens, cost, quality perspective, and just knowing that it's like more common. And then the only other thing I want to know is what model, what model would I actually run this with, and like what's the trade-off, right? If we've got something that's twice the cost, is it twice the relative quality? You know, because if I'm looking at something like Simon's blogs where he does the Pelican riding bicycles. If you haven't seen this benchmark, by the way, it's an awesome benchmark. He just used it as a fun little thing of generating some nonsense combination. Pelicans don't ride bicycles. So having a model being able to understand what a pelican is, what a bicycle is, that a pelican doesn't ride a bicycle, but what it would look like if it was to ride a bicycle, tests its kind of reasoning, understanding ability, and then its ability to actually turn that into an image. And so he's been using this to like test every model as soon as it releases, just to get a sense of where it's at. And all of the models are pretty good at generating reasonable pelicans riding bicycles these days. And so it's not so much, he talks about it not being necessarily the best benchmark these days, but it is quite still a useful hello world for a new model just to see it actually running, see what it can produce, see that it can like understand general world knowledge. But like if you're looking at the difference in quality between all of these, pelicans on bicycles, is the difference between GPT-5.6 Luna and Terra enough to justify a jump from 2.4 cents to 3.7 cents, Is it enough to justify the extra cost? And is the difference between high and X high going from 3.7 cents to 14 cents enough to justify going from this weird looking pelican to this one that has a lot more lines and like detail? Or would you just sooner go with like GPT-5.6 Luna on X high? So I feel like we just want like a small grid that shows these options. Also generate between high, X high, and max. And have the viewer output this as a grid. The difference between cost from high to X high here, though, is extraordinary. Like, that's 5 times the cost. Admittedly, for an SVG. And this one does have a lot more, like, raw tokens, but... And then this is double the cost at max. Like, imagine this is your code, Are you getting double the quality or more than double the quality if you go from high to X high? It's a bit arbitrary about how you choose, like, reasoning levels these days, I find. Like, it's like, I don't know, do I want to think more or less? And it's, like, all kind of happenstance of if it actually helps. But if you put it into the perspective of same task, kind of like an output that you can actually see, can you justify it being double the cost? Does it make your slop actually half as bad? Interesting questions. This is why evaluations are important if you're building anything commercially. Like if you're actually building a real system, build in a way where you can actually like run things and test if they actually work. Fascinating. All right, let's see where our benchmark got up to. Latest valid SVG by model. Excellent. Did we add more things to here? Screaming teapot blast. A frosted birthday cake exploding into candles, sprinkles, and magical fire. Poison cloud. I feel like this is articulating like more movement and animation like qualities rather than just the like raw visuals. But it's interesting. All right, we'll run our benchmark one last time on all of the inputs after it finishes. Extend the benchmark to compare SVG outputs from 3 models. Current API equivalent pricing is stored in prompts.yaml. We'll let it finish its last 2 prompts. And then I'll run our benchmark once to figure out what we're gonna run with. It's good though. I definitely think SVGs are the stronger option. I am curious if pixel art LLM pixel art generator, is there any? There's a service for it. Texel Studio. The only pixel art tool that actually paints like a real artist. Okay. Output blurry approximations. Texel Studio has been out for 3 months, 4 months. There is an open source engine. There's also a pricing page. $9 a month, 200 credits, all sizes, all AI models. Interesting. Yeah, you can see even like tools where they do have some kind of an ability to like build pixel art. They use kind of like higher level primitives. Don't just draw pixel by pixel to like generate a line, draw a line, right? And so they'll use these tools to paint, and they paint against a reference image. So it'll like generate concept art to see what it looks like, and then it'll paint a then it'll paint that as like a pixel image. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But then you're paying for the cost of like generating an image, as well as then converting it into like using tools to then actually like paint it into like a pixel artwork. So you're paying double the cost. But it is a nice art style, honestly. I wonder if we should take this benchmark further and then actually try and do something similar. Because you could even generate like an example of what this looks like with actually what does Flash image Gemini Flash image preview pricing. What's the actual cost of like image models? Flash image, output price, paid tier, 67.067, 6 cents per 1K image. What are we paying for this? 0.05, so 4 cents for like a 0.5K image. And our benchmarks have got this at like, with API pricing. Where'd it go? 1 cent for an SVG of like a fireball. So then you'd pay like 5 times as much for the image itself, and then like extra to draw it into pixel art. Totally fine if you're like generating these assets one-off. If you're looking for like a quick render of like a on demand as you're playing the game, this would quickly, like both would quickly blow up, I think. But cool. I think our code is finished, so we can run our benchmark once then and see how it runs. And also keep an eye on if we're like draining all of our codex quota. We've used about 10% today, which is pretty good. Which is pretty good. All right, final test. 9 model effort variants for every attack. This, if they're all taking 20 seconds to run and they're running serially, could take ages. What's that? 9 times, let's say 9 times 30. That's like 5 minutes per image. And then we've got how many images now? Too many, right? This ain't never gonna work. Let's kill this already. And let's do this, run generation in parallel, please. And this is why AI is good. Something simple like, I just want to generate all of these images like in parallel. It's going to be way quicker to just like do all of these at the same time. Like we're going to burn the tokens anyway. You may as well like burn them efficiently. There is nothing from these prompts which actually depends on anything across the images. So there's no reason to like wait. Ain't no reason to wait. Let us get like our final SVG comparisons. Would have been nice to keep the I feel like publishing this should actually I should also keep the ability for it to generate PNG as well, because it's just stripped out PNG completely. It's currently doing models and instructions. I think it should do models, instructions, and then maybe have something where it can be like enabled formats. And so we keep the same prompt for SVG PNG and can render it if we want. And then the UI should be able to handle both if it needs to. But I think SVG is just a lot simpler. Simpler for implementation, simpler for learning, simpler for code. Generate an SVG, go, it should be valid. No dramas. Is that really 6? GPT 5.6 pricing? How expensive is Luna? $1.60. It is. Interesting. And GPT 4.4 Pro is at $180 per million output. Jeez. All right, we're burning tokens now. Let's go. So let's kick off 2:35 a minute ago. We've got, let's put our pet here. We've got, have we got anything that's finished? Nothing yet. What's our benchmark now? 5, 10, 12. All right. We've got 12 test cases. We've got 3 models. We've got 3 reasoning levels. So we've got something like, it's 9 times 12, 108 combinations here. All 108 base requests were launched together rather than in 12 sequential batches. Sweet. I assume, let's have a look at the code. Let's see if it's going to write them all in one go or if it's writing them incrementally. Bench.mgs, run prompt. For const this, await write file. Model effort results, await promise.all. Okay, so it's waiting for all of them to finish and then it'll just run through and like write all of them together. That's what's happening here. So we won't see any files, then we'll see all of them appear together. And then we'll have a benchmark. The actual generation of this is like you look at generate itself and it's just saying generate text, OpenAI, provide a reasoning effort to change it and give it the prompt. And the prompt is literally just like this direction a flaming red fireball attack formatted into the instructions here. And that's like formatted into a little message here. Instructions, art direction, fed into prompt. We generate an SVG. We pass that text into a clean SVG, so it just does a bit of trimming and extracts out SVG or XML from the output. Then we get a little info here that captures the effort, the tokens, the cost in USD, how long it took. That will attempt it up to twice if it fails the first time. So we get if it has failed at all. Oh no, we get attempts push. So it'll attempt it up to 3 times, and then it'll just like complain and die if it doesn't actually finish. And then we just run that as a suite. And each of the prompts runs as part of a set of map promises. I swear there's like a nicer JavaScript way of doing this. Did they change promise APIs, or like is modern JS like have a nicer promise? Oh, let's chat as a... Is there a nicer way of running a parallel async sync in modern JS? I swear there's a nicer way of doing this. No, that is the idiomatic way? Gotcha. All right. Wait, promise, all settled. All right. So we return a promise from this, from prompts.map run prompt. Oh, because we've got a waits in here, then it's async already. Gotcha. And then that just waits for everything. I see. All right, how'd we go? Did we finish? No, still running. All right. We don't have any files. Ice Shard Volley is completed. Okay, so they're finishing one by one now. Okay, so that has SVGs for all of our models. Okay, so we're just getting these to like, so okay. Purple Lightning Bolt's finished, Poison Cloud is finished, Night Character's still running, Ice Shard Volley's finished. Spectral Boot Kick is still waiting, Sword Slash is empty. Okay. Our benchmark's nearly finished. This took a lot longer than I assumed it would take. To iterate a little bit, to do a little bit of research, to change between... Originally, we were just going to compare SVG and pixel art. I don't think there's really any point comparing SVG and pixel art anymore. Without changing the approach for pixel art, like it's just so restricted what you can do with pixel art that like it just looks trash. So we removed it. So it's more about then have a couple of test cases, generate images with a set of different reasonings, and then we'll see what model we should actually use for this game. And it is nice to do this with like a bit of a structured approach to understand why you are making the decisions you're making. Like, it's easy enough to be like, what should I do? But actually comparing it on like a real use case, something that you do care about. No, you know, in our case, if I want Twitch and YouTube chat to be able to like generate whatever images they want, like I'd want to make a reasonably good decision where it's good enough, but it's not going to be like way too expensive for not that much extra quality, right? It's not like I'm going to be like, hey, chat, let's just run it with Fable. Why not? Like, you want to balance cost, quality, and latency for something like in-band. Chat says something, we generate an image on the fly that then gets used in the game, like during a turn. So like your delay between the last chat message being accepted and then something actually then occurring in the game is going to be defined by your like how long it takes your very last message to then turn into some kind of a thing, right? You could run stuff in parallel, but latency of the model actually then will dictate, and like the particular kind of thing you're using that model for is going to dictate the some of the non-functionals of the game if you are going to be like on the fly generating artwork. So I do want to actually get data on this. That's the whole point of doing this as a benchmark, rather than just like being like, we'll just do it this way, right? And we're close. 10 of 12 are completed. We're just missing Fireball. Oh, we've got that. We're just missing our Screaming Teapot Blast. All right, we have lots of SVGs. Not that they render as SVGs in here. Where's the view, show, file extensions? There we go. There we go. Windows, why do you make everything so hard? All right. 11 out of 12 are done. We're waiting on one more. I wonder if we can start looking at them while this is finishing off. Not this one. This one. Not quite yet. Nearly there. Nearly there, and then there's just wiring them into the actual like viewer. Elevator music in the meantime. Man, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday or Saturday. Where are you all from, chat? I'm going to assume it's not like midday for a lot of you. I'm hoping you're all vibe coding fun things yourselves. Making magic. Or not. Or chilling. I was up until like 2 a.m. watching EWC League of Legends. Man, they were some banger games last night. Oh my lord. Damn. The French fans are something else, and man, KC like did very well last night in League of Legends. It was something to behold. It was beautiful. And then I didn't finish it. I didn't finish DK versus Gen G, but that was also ridiculously competitive, surprisingly so. Parallel generation is implemented. Full suite is finished. All right. Have we run it into... Can we actually see the outputs in our viewer? We can. Oh my goodness. Okay, our grid doesn't fit on one page. Our grid doesn't fit in one page. Smush it, please. Restrict to... Check it. Alrighty. Let's zoom out. Maybe I can just see it if I zoom out. Here are our model comparisons. We've got Sol, we've got Terra, we've got Luna. This is all OpenAI GPT stuff. I haven't tested with any of the Claude models right now, which would be fun as well. But I've already got like a working setup where it's very easy to get OpenAI OAuth. Like in JavaScript, it's like one line. Like in JavaScript, if you want to get a little proxy that uses your Codex login, you can literally just run... Where is it? So you can literally just install OpenAI OAuth package, and then you would just run create OpenAI OAuth, OpenAI credentials. This will give you a model that you can use with the Vercel AI SDK, and then it just works. And then it's just straight up. Wait, where is that used? In generate text. In generate text down here under. Oh, it uses it above. Well, whatever. Up here in generate text, then you can just use that directly, pass that as the model, and then wham bam, there you go, pass whatever prompt you want, and off you go. You're using a model. So it's really easy to get this set up in JavaScript if you want to like build your own agent or use some like generative AI as part of your application, to experiment for something personal, not to run anything commercial, because their terms of service is still like, this is okay as long as it's a personal project, right? The reason why I told it to restrict to one VH is that's what web uses, as it's kind of like your browser screen. So like you can use relative positioning in CSS to say, hey, I want this to take up this much space. And one of those like space, well, there's that space specification can be pixels, or it can be like relative emphasis rem, or it can be I think percentages. I don't know, percentages. And look at like the different ways of doing it. Anyway, one of the ways of like specifying height is actually in terms of relative height to your browser screen. And so if it's big, you can say, I want it to take up the whole screen 100%. You can say, I only want to take this up to take up 50% of the screen. And that's great until you move from like a browser to a phone and like your dimensions change entirely. And so it's often not a great idea unless you're doing something like a video player, like YouTube video or like a Twitch video player, in which case you do want it to take up the full screen. Normally you'd use like, we want it to on a screen up to this size take up this many pixels or take up this much space, and then you have kind of like these break pointed different flexible layouts. But it can be helpful just to be like, make sure it fits into one screen, one VH, be done with it, off you go. So here's our fireball option, and we go all the way from Luna on high. Is this high? Where's the... Yeah, high, X high, max, Sol, Terra, Luna. So we go all the way from cheap and small to big and expensive. So this starts off at 1 cent. This goes up to 36 cents. That's our kind of like range, right? Fireball, I mean, let's go between the models first off, right? Between Luna and Terra, a little bit more visual detail, roughly the same cost. Terra actually generates it a hell of a lot faster, which is interesting. 20 seconds versus like 60. Whoa, there we go. Sol, 6 times more expensive, but that looks like an actual fireball with some like movement particles as well. Not particles, but like, you know, like it has some like movement built into the image, but it is 6 times more expensive. Similar in price to the X-High variant, which has a little bit more shininess and visual detail. I don't mind that. If we go Lunar and we go maybe up the expensive tiering, so like 1 cent to 4 cents, we go, that's more fireballish. I feel like this would make a better attack. This is a little bit more like it doesn't really look like a ball. More looks like, I don't know, just looks like some fire. This more looks like a cloud. We get actual balls when we go up to 3 times, 5 times more expensive. We get like somewhat of a ball if we look at the 4 times more expensive. So this is Luna Max. I think between going from Luna Max to Terra Max, I don't think you're getting that much more visual gain, but it is like a hell of a lot more expensive. So I mean, look, out of these 9, I don't know what you think. I'd love you to vote. Like, tell me your thoughts on what the best fireball here is. My own read on it is I would kind of choose Terra? Terra XI? Maybe? Cost? I feel like the cleanest is probably Soul for me. There's more other things, but I feel like if I'm imagining like an attack going from like a character to the other side of the screen, this looks like the simplest, cleanest, clearest version of that. Holy Hammer Smash. Interesting. Again, we're going from 1.7 cents to 30 cents all the way at like Soul Max. I feel like it depends on what you're going for. I feel like I'd prefer Terra Max just for like how I'm imagining this being used in a game, but for the price, like if price is a consideration as well, I'd probably go for like Soul High. Okay. Ice Shard Volley. I mean, it's put a character in there as well, so I think this might have like yet again, this is probably like a more representative of a deficiency in our benchmark versus anything else, but you know, if we're generating like an image that's supposed to be used in a game as an attack like sprite, not like a standalone thing. Like we don't want a character, we want this to be like the artwork that is then like put into the game. And so I'd probably almost go, I mean, for this, I actually like the Lunar ones. I feel like that has the most detail. It's the cheapest, and that's the most like I like this is the best like visual SVG ice attack I can imagine. Like you can imagine like lots of these being like thrown at a boss in a game. So I feel like Lunar actually wins that one. Pick the stronger asset. Now we've got a knight character clad in armor with a sword. Honestly, all pretty good. Getting very detailed once it gets up to Soul Max. I feel like if I had to vote, Lunar Max. Just, it's missing a head. I feel like Terra Max has probably got the cleanest. Again, this is probably more based on quality, less on price right now. Poison Cloud. Having an actual cloud that could be thrown at a boss. Maybe like... I feel like the X-High one looks the best as an attack. And then Lightning Bolt, Purple Lightning Bolt. Maybe we would go... I feel like actually like Lunar is the cleanest. Like it's simple, it's clean, it's not too expensive. I mean the we go from half a cent to 50 cents. 115 times more expensive than our cheapest one. Damn. There is some huge variance in these. A giant glowing rubber duck crashing down like a meteor attack. Fascinating. I feel like this is probably the best one in terms of what we described, right? Or like, I mean, this one has like some background art as well. They're very nice to be used as an attack in a game with like a transparent background though. Which again, like this shows you the deficiency of the benchmark more than anything else because we never described like don't use a background. Focus on this being a standalone asset, so don't have it interacting with characters or have any like splash marks or anything. We'll do the movement and animation ourselves. Like we didn't tell it any of that. So it's, you know, adding backgrounds and adding impacts and adding other things. Because when we say crashing down, it adds something to represent the crashing. Shows you the importance of like building out like a benchmark set that actually represents what you want to use it for. An angry enchanted teapot screaming a cone of scalding steam. I feel like this one's hard, actually. I'd probably go with this one. This one looks angry. The steam is coming out of the right area. And again, you've got like a huge variance in how much this stuff costs. A huge translucent boot kicking an enemy. Because we described the enemy, yeah, again, it's probably a benchmark fail more than anything. But just in terms of visual quality, I feel like this is the best boot plus enemy. Also, very, like, you know, man, Sol Max costs, holy. A fast silver sword slash cutting diagonally through the air. For something like this, I reckon I'd actually prefer something like Luna Max. I reckon that looks actually quite good. Traffic cone. I mean, I'm happy with the Luna one for this one, right? Simple, doesn't need to be too complex. Happy days. An exploding birthday cake. Maybe like Sol High. So more or less, we toggle between Lunar High, Sol High, and then sometimes a max variant depending on what it was. But the bigger kind of like finding here is, geez, the variance is massive, and it's not always that it's higher, but I think like the way that we've described the benchmark and these prompts don't make it the easiest to actually like draw a conclusion for what we want to use it for yet. So there definitely needs to be more art direction to get the right kind of artwork that we want. But man, there is some variance from this. So if you were like using this to like estimate how much like your AI game is going to cost if you're using generative art in it, could be $100 a month, could be 3,600. That's a big range, or at like an extreme 115 times more. Could be $100 a month, could be 100,000 or 10,000. That's generative AI for you, man. Damn. Cool. I'm reasonably happy with how that kind of went. Definitely some like options, but I think at least for our project, which is to build ourselves a little stream interactive game, SVG is the way to go. There is a lot of variance in how these things can be built. Being more descriptive with our assets is going to be a lot stronger for us to get the kind of like visual quality that we want. Pixel art is difficult. Like models like to think in terms of shapes and composition, not so much in terms of pixels and like raster images. And so I think we, for an AI game artwork, definitely you're either like using a service or you're kind of like using tools that can draw shapes, not trying to get it to like just generate pictures directly. If you do get it to generate images, you might want to use them as a reference image to then like actually use like then turn that into like some pixel art or like an SVG maybe, just to ground it. But yeah, I think for our game we're gonna stick with SVG, and we'll probably optimize for cost because this is like a massive variance. Even just going from Luna to Terra is like can be the same price, can be twice as expensive at high. And sticking with Luna and going from Luna to Lunar X high, 2 times more expensive, 4 times more expensive, 3 times more expensive, same price. Traffic cone 4 times more expensive, and that doesn't actually necessarily like equate to quality for SVG image generation. Now, these are simple test cases. This benchmark is flawed. I could do some more like work with it, but interesting learnings already that like educate then the way that you're going to use AI in a game. So it's very worth testing different models and testing different prompts if you're going to be building something with AI, just to give yourself a sense of what axes you might actually like make your decisions on. So I'd be leaning more into Luna high or cheaper and absorbing lower quality, being more specific and being happy with a lower cost at this point. Cool. Especially for like one-shot throwaway game prompts. I might even like drop the quality and go like Luna low, medium, high, and then check out how that works with like another benchmark run. Maybe we'll do that next time. Cool. I'm going to wrap up there. Thanks all for joining me. I'm Ben. This is AI Bengineering. Very, very, very appreciative for you coming along and hanging out and listening to a little bit of my rants about AI art. SVG definitely, I think, is underrated for this kind of thing. Thanks, Pinky. Appreciate you all hanging out. Enjoy the rest of your days. I might go and see if I can... I tried doing this last time. I'm very new to the Twitch streaming thing, and I tried raiding somebody, and it did not work. I was not able to raid anybody. So it just told me no. So I might try doing this again. Let's see who's talking, who's doing some interesting things. Play the chat guessing game. Probably choose English. Can I filter this to same language? Vibe coding 2D game and video editor. Yeah, man, this guy's doing some cool things. He's also doing some artwork with Kling AI, using actual services for this stuff. Fair enough. Let's try that. Tricary Omni.
Yeah, this frog is drunk with power. You have to be careful. I told Claude to put the mixture of experts aware, caching, Colibri, and Llama CPP, and I need a victim.
All right, let's try this.
All my parts.
Thanks all. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time.
You put the MOE aware caching in Colibri and Llama CPP. Interesting. I queued up X-Men Days of Future Past, but you never started watching.
Bye. Let's go. Time to raid.
GLM 5.2 faster from SSD than anyone? That's pretty interesting. No. Oh shit. Thank you for the raid of 3 views.